You played a big role in that recruiting of Tom. The world was going crazy at the time with COVID. Meanwhile, you guys are out here trying to recruit the greatest quarterback ever.
I remember talking to his agent, Steve Dubin, and I go, Steve, how's he going to sign this contract? Because he was in New York City at the time. And he's like, we'll figure it out. He probably has a printer. And I go, I doubt he has a printer. It's not like Tom Brady can go to FedEx Kinko's. We just got the greatest player ever to agree to come here. I want that thing signed right away. I call my brother-in-law, Jake. I need you to go and print out a contract, and I need you to go to Tom Brady's apartment. And I need you to have him sign it. And I remember him saying, I said to the doorman, I'm Jake. I'm here to see Tom Brady. And the doorman says, 12th floor. And he gets to the elevator and he looks back. He says, but what apartment? He goes, no, son, the 12th floor. So Jake is the person who actually ends up signing Brady to the contract.
Welcome in to NFL Spotlight. It is the Tuesday, September 16 edition of the show. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Week 2 of the NFL season is officially in the books. We are on to week 3, and since it is a Tuesday here on the show, we have a special Spotlight guest once again, and we're going back to the executive world, and we're going to get somebody who we've been trying to get for a very long time. Our previous guests have told us to try to get him on the show. We made it happen. Today, we will be joined by Tampa Bay Buccaneers Assistant General Manager Mike Greenberg, one of the more respected executives in football, the lead negotiator, cap guy, contracts guy, does so many things in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office, one of the key executives for GM Jason Licht, and he has been there for over 15 years, has been there from when they started from the bottom, came to the top, the Tom Brady era, winning a Super Bowl, transitioning to Baker Mayfield, having all these young players get drafted, get extended, get a new contract, keep them under the salary cap, be one of the great run organizations in football. He has interviewed for GM jobs around the NFL. And when we had John Spytek, the Raiders GM, on the show, when we had AJ Stevens, who works at Athletes First, both those guys, of course, were in Tampa Bay previously. Everyone knows the final question we ask every guest is who should be on NFL Spotlight in the future. They all said Mike Greenberg's. So we had to get him on the show. We got him on the show. We spoke about his career path, his journey, and much more. A really, really great conversation, over 40 minutes with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers assistant GM. So here it is, my full conversation with Mike Greenberg. Joining us today here on NFL Spotlight, he is the assistant general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, entering his 16th season with the organization. He handles contracts, negotiations, and much more. It is Mike Greenberg. Mike, what is going on, man? How are you?
Wow, happy to be here. Appreciate you having me on.
This has been a long time coming, Mike, as you know, and this is the NFL Spotlight show. We love spotlighting people in the NFL who deserve more recognition, and you've been on my list for a while, and people who listen to this show, they know that the final question I ask every guest who comes on is who should be in the spotlight in the future. And Mike, I just want to play a video for you and for the listeners to see why we wanted to get you on the show. Who is somebody who you think deserves to be in the spotlight in the future?
I'm gonna go with Mike Greenberg. Let's get Mike Greenberg on the show. I told Mike a long time ago, I was like, our goal in the scouting department is going to be to make your job really hard. And how are you going to piece together all these great players and make sure that they don't walk out of this building? And he's done an amazing job of that. The Glazers were super generous and, giving us the opportunity to keep that team together. And that was just the start of it. And then it kind of the mastermind behind all of it to put it all together. And so I think he should come on and share all his secrets with you about how he and Jackie and Jason kept that team together and continue to keep that team together.
Mike Greenberg, but I watched the Spytek episode here that you had a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not going to double down on Greenberg.
I'm excited to tune in and watch Big Brain Mike be the next guest, hopefully.
Big Brain Mike is here. We got him on the show. That is John Spytek, who, of course, you were with in Tampa Bay for a long time. Now the Raiders GM. That was AJ Stevens, who works for Athletes First, was in the Buccaneers organization as well. When you watch that, we'll get through the whole career path and journey here in a second. But when you see that and just the respect and admiration you have for people around the NFL, just how cool is that?
No, it's great, and I appreciate both of them and think the world of them as well. And had a great run with both of them here. Proud of what AJ has accomplished. He came to us right after law school. was really the first job in his league, and went on to do really great things at Athletes First, and it's been impressive and fun to watch. And then John, you're with John for I think it was 9 years or so when he's here, and developed a close relationship. Think the world of him. I think he's going to do a great job with the Raiders. Special guy. So appreciate them saying that, and feelings mutual, and they're both really, really good at what they do. And AJ's just buttering me up for the next time we have to sign one of his guys. I know that, but it's been fun, really. We're working with them and then seeing now what they've accomplished.
Absolutely. And it's great to have you on and, accomplish what they said of getting you on the show. And as you know, what we love doing here on the show is just going through people's career paths and their journeys and how they got to where you are now as the assistant GM of the Buccaneers. And I'll start from the very beginning, Mike. You were a soccer player growing up, and then you went to Cornell and you went to Hofstra Law. What was your original goal? How did football come about? Did you want to be involved in football? Like, just early on in life, how did this all happen to you?
Well, always loved football, just even from the time I was little, and probably credit to the Sundays with my family and my dad, brother, sister, mom, and just watching Sunday football was just a routine thing in our house. And my brother would even have his two best friends over, Adam and Josh. And Josh was one of those guys who showed up and just purposely rooted for the other team. So I, got a taste of that at an early age of Josh rooting against us. But just always loved Sundays, loved diehard Jet fan growing up, and football has just always been a part of my life, and a special thing that I first shared with my family. And then, kind of like anyone else, you start to play fantasy football with your friends, and you realize how cool it really is to manage a team and be part of that, and make decisions and try and project what guys are going to do. And so really just from a young age, loved football, and always was hoping to be a part of it somehow. And that kind of made me go to law school. I was like, okay, if I can go to law school and kind of merge the two, that would be the perfect career path for me. So, but my love from football really started for me from a young age, even though I was a soccer player, never really played organized football, but I always loved the game.
So, Mike, a lot of people's stories who come on the show, they realize early on they can't be a player at whatever sports it is, so they want to find out a different path to being involved in the sport. How did the love for contract and the executive world come from? Was there somebody you looked up to? Like, how did you wanting to be involved in that part of football come about?
Well, always, honestly, really a math person. Really just enjoyed math, and also always wanted to go to law school. So when I was in law school, I thought, okay, how do I take the law and my love for math and turn that into working for really, professional sports teams? What drew me to the NFL was the hard salary cap, and the contracts really weren't guaranteed until you made them guaranteed. So there's a lot of nuances and intricacies that went into that, and really get to come up with a plan and planning ahead, and using some of the things that I really, really liked about just the math component of it and trying to make things work. So when I was in law school, I was fortunate enough to intern for the Jets. And that really, once I did that and worked in the football admin department, I was like, this is what I want to do. I love this. And after that, anything I really needed to do to wind up here, I was going to do.
Well, you mentioned that you grew up a Jets fan. You mentioned that you were an intern for the Jets. How did that opportunity even come about? Because as we talk about in the show all the time, like, it's how do you get your foot in the door? How did that foot in the door moment happen for you with the Jets, who I think Mike Tannenbaum was the GM at the time? He's my boss here at the 33rd team. How did that all happen for you there?
So interesting story. My dad and his brothers owned a moving company for many, many years. And Mike happened to use them when I was in law school. And at the end of the move, my dad said, hey, would you mind if my son, he's in law school, he has always admired your career, would love to reach out to you. And fortunately, Mike, let me reach out to him and offered me an internship. It was him, Ari Meirov, actually Jackie Davidson, who works with us here now. So that was the first summer of law school. And that's really how I kind of got my foot in the door, just through a random connection through my dad happened to be moving him. And sometimes it just takes that random connection to really kind of get your foot in the door. And then I always tell people, then it's on you. Then it's on you to show them what you can do and to learn as much as you can and to prove yourself after that. But I got fortunate to just have, a scenario where I was able to get in touch with Mike Tannenbaum just through coincidence.
That is a wild story. Is there I know the time with the Jets was brief, but was there a pinch yourself moment that you're actually working with the New York Jets, the team that you grew up watching at the time?
Really every day, I'll say that I drove in there, but the moment that it was interesting and always kind of stands out is that was the year they traded for Brett Favre. So the summer I'm working there, I'm in the office of the football admin office, and Mike comes in and we start talking about how we're going to make it work to trade for Brett Favre. So to be there as really just a fly on the wall, it's such a huge moment to trade for a future Hall of Fame quarterback was something I never could really imagine that first internship I'd get the experience, but that was a really, really neat moment and fortunate to be there for that.
Hey guys, it's Ari here. We are 2 weeks through the NFL season, on to week 3, and I'm excited to tell you that NFL Spotlight is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook this NFL season, and we are here to tell you and get you the edge on all your bets. And if you're a new customer, if you just bet $5, you will get $300 in bonus bets if you win on that first $5 bet by signing up and going to FanDuel.com/Ari.
Yeah, that's right, Ari. Pick a bet, wager $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style is, FanDuel has you covered. We are entering week 3, and we're starting to get a feel for what's going on around the NFL. And on Thursday Night Football, we have an interesting matchup with the red-hot Buffalo Bills. They're going to be hosting the Miami Dolphins at 0-2, who are floundering into the game. So that's one that you guys should be looking at. The only question is, are you guys ready to play? Because we are going to be giving you guys that awesome deal that Ari was just talking about. Bonus bets. Go out there. Get your $300 in bonus bets after your $5 wager hits in this TNF matchup. Ari, 12.5 points, the favorite of the Buffalo Bills. That's a lot of points. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, first of all, we've been doing this now. First 2 weeks, week 1, we said the Cowboys would cover. They covered. Week 2, we said the Packers would cover. They covered and won the game. So
not to toot your own horn at all, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a bettor or anything, but hey, I'm on a hot streak right now, so I'm taking it all in. But for this game here, it is in Buffalo. It is a huge number there with the 12.5 number. And this is, I mean, we know it. The pressure is on in Miami. Mike McDaniel, the entire organization, Tua, Tyreek Hill, all these players, they're having player-only meetings. If you get blown out of here, the pressure and the noise for a long 10 days until week 4, it's going to be out of control. And listen, Buffalo does not surprise me. They're one of the best teams in football. They've been unbelievable so far. They're very hot, coming off a dominant win over the Jets on Sunday. Short week, divisional game with that big of a number. That I just don't like that. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins covering this game. I mean, listen, they impressed me a little bit in that game versus the Patriots. I know that they lost, but there were moments in that game where it's like, oh, I see some of the Dolphins that I saw a couple of years ago with Mike McDaniel. So can that carry over to this game and at least keep it close? I just don't like seeing such a big number in a divisional game in week 3. It's too big for me. I think this game will be close, and I'm going to have the Dolphins covering in this game and trying to just keep their season alive, because right now, from all the winless teams, nobody has more pressure and nobody has more noise and nobody's on a hotter hot seat right now than Mike McDaniel. So if they could just show some life, keep this close, keep this competitive, I think at least they can go into week 4 holding their head up high. And if not, there's going to be a lot of noise. So as much as I love Buffalo, and Buffalo is awesome and great, and Josh Allen is the reigning MVP and has been awesome, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins to cover in this game on Thursday Night Football.
You heard it from the 2-0 Ari Meirov for FanDuel. Don't let get it to his head, guys. So maybe it'll be 3-0 next week, maybe not. But all that matters is that you guys go with what you think is going to happen. So head over to FanDuel.com/Ari. Get signed up if you haven't. Go out there, sign up, and be a part of America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, let's talk about the Tampa Bay move here, because you end up there. a couple years later and you end up in Tampa Bay. How did that opportunity with the next organization come about back in 2010? This was back when Mark Dominic was the GM, Raheem Morris, a very young man, was the head coach at the time. How does the opportunity to move there happen for you?
So my third year of law school, I was still working for the Jets. Knew there really was no long-term job at the end because Mike had a background salary cap and they had Ari and Jackie. So I just sent my resume around to every single team. What I had at that point was I had worked interned at the Jets and I had also interned at the league office my second year of law school. So I had pretty good credentials, pretty good references, fortunately. So Mark happened to read my resume and called me, and they had, well, it was interesting enough, a player personnel assistant role. So he said, you're going to do half salary cap, half scouting. And I was like, I got to be honest with you. This sounds wonderful. I'm in. I would love to do it. I don't know anything about scouting. I mean, I played college soccer. I know what an athlete is. I know the movements. I know, been around, watch football my whole life, but there is an art and a skill set to scouting. And he goes, don't worry about it. We could teach you. So I did that my first year at the Bucs. And I think I wasn't the best of scouts. I was trying, I was learning. But what it did make me do was I learned the language. I learned how to watch tape. When our scouts, I could read through their reports and understand what they're saying, really from my time in the, scouting and learning the nuances of it. I've also learned to appreciate how hard it is to scout and how much of a skill set it really is. And then 6 months in, our salary cap person then happened to leave and I moved into that role full time, but grateful for that first opportunity because it really did teach me a lot about just the nuances of scouting and how to watch tape and how to speak the language, which has really helped me throughout my career here.
Mark was there for a few more years. Raheem was eventually let go. Greg Schiano comes in, but eventually everybody is let go from that front office, from at least from the top and the head coaching staff. And that's when Jason Licht is brought in. Lovie Smith becomes the head coach. Was there any concern for you that the people who hired you are no longer there? What is my future now? Like, what was your thought process when all this is happening?
It's a good question. I think I'd be lying, and anyone would be lying if they said they don't really, that doesn't come through their mind. It was an interesting situation for me because what really happened was so we ended up after Raheem got let go, we hired Greg Schiano. And then 2 years into Coach Schiano's tenure here, is when him and Mark got let go. So them two get called in, and then we're having a meeting, and they're letting us know, they got let go. And then my phone rings, and it's actually the owner, and they asked to speak to me. And so I go back in there, and he's like, I know, obviously, we let Mark go, we let Coach Schiano go. We're gonna, you're the rules person. We're gonna need someone to really help this process, help us find a new head coach, help us find a new GM. So listen, I think the world of Mark, I think the world of Coach Schiano, have a lot of respect for them. Was obviously very upset when they got let go because I had a nice relationship with both of them. But then you kind of immediately go into this, okay, now's a chance for me to prove myself to the owner that I can be this person. I can be responsible for helping them through, because there's a lot of anti-tampering rules and a lot of different things you need to follow when you're hiring a head coach and GM. So you immediately go from being upset that, two people that you admire got let go to, okay, now I got to prove myself. I have an opportunity here to work really directly with the head coach and help that owners, and help them assist in hiring a new head coach and a new GM. So fortunate to be really part of that experience. And it was a really great experience for someone in my role at that age, especially. And I'm grateful that they believed enough to give me that opportunity as well. And so I kind of transitioned quickly to how do I help the organization move to the next step.
A great story. And you guys end up hiring Jason Licht as the GM. He comes over from Arizona. That was the choice, that ownership. You obviously were involved in all of that. What do you remember about just the hiring of Jason and just the first couple of years with him running the show? Obviously you've been with him now for it's over a decade now, but What do you remember of him early on in his tenure and teaming up with him?
He was just very impressive. You can tell, just everyone you talked to around the league was just raving about how great of an evaluator he is, a great a person he was, a leader. He had worked for some really great teams over the years. He was part of the Patriots, and then the Cardinals when they went on those runs with when Bruce was the head coach there, and he just had this great resume. And when I met him, I instantly liked him and connected with him, and just a guy that you want to work for and be part of the team with. And everything everybody said about him around the league, I realized quickly was true. And honestly, I've been fortunate to be on this run with him and be here for, I think it's gonna be his 11th to 12th season here. So it's been special experience.
Now, during that time, the first draft ever of Jason Licht, the first pick is Mike Evans, who of course is a Bucs legend himself. And for a couple of years, it's building out the roster and getting some pieces here. There were some ups, there were some downs, but we get to eventually 2020, which is the world is going crazy. COVID is happening. And that's the big year where, Bruce is going into his second year as head coach. And then all of a sudden we bring in Tom Brady to take over as the quarterback. You played a big role in that recruiting of Tom, getting him signed. What is just your favorite memory from that process? Because like I said, the world was going crazy at the time with COVID. And meanwhile, you guys are out here trying to recruit the greatest quarterback ever.
It was a really, really unique and fascinating experience. And we still kind of talk about the different things that happened during that time period and how crazy it was. But for us, free agency was starting, and we had to have plan one, which was Tom. And if we get Tom, here's what we're going to try and do. And then plan 2, 3, 4. There was a lot of balls in the air that we were managing. And then fortunate enough to obviously to land Tom. And immediately, normally one moment that really sticks out is normally you sign a player, especially of his caliber, you fly him in the next day, you can get him in private, and there's a big press conference he signs there. During that period, you obviously couldn't bring players in. And I remember talking to his agent, Steve Dubin, and I go, Steve, how's he going to sign this contract? Because he was in New York City at the time. And he's like, we'll figure out. He probably has a printer. And I go, I doubt he has a printer, a scanner, a random apartment that, he may be staying in. And it's not like Tom Brady can go to FedEx Kinko's and head down the street and sign there. And I don't want, Tom Brady just said he's coming to us. I don't want a day or two going by and teams start calling him and offering the work. We want that contract signed because we just got the greatest player ever to agree to come here. I want that thing signed right away. So fortunately, I call my brother-in-law, Jake, who lives in New York City, has worked at the league office for a little bit now. Works at NBC at the time. He was working, and PR and communications. So he's had experience in dealing with players and the industry. And I go, Jake, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to do it right now. And I go, at 4:01, whatever time, I need you to go and print out a contract, and I need you to go to Tom Brady's apartment. I need you to have him sign it. And silence at first on the other end. And Jake agrees to do it, obviously, gets to his apartment. And I remember him saying, I said to the doorman, I'm Jake, I'm here to see Tom Brady. And the doorman says, 12th floor. And he gets to the elevator and he looks back. He says, but what apartment? He goes, no, son, the 12th floor. So Jake is the person who actually ends up signing Brady to the contract. He's the one who took the picture of Brady signing that got tweeted out. So for me, it was a nice moment that I got to share with Jake, but it was just kind of sums up that time period of COVID that you have to think of different ways and creative ways to get things done. And it was great that I got to, include my brother-in-law in this experience, because it's something that always stands out for me when we talk about signing Tom Brady.
I never heard that story before. I mean, I know the picture. I remember the picture. It was tweeted out. Everybody went crazy. I didn't know that it's your own family out here is the one who's going out there to get the paper to him. That's a pretty awesome story. And it wasn't just Tom. I mean, Tom comes in, it's great. There's also Gronk, who at the time is retired out of all of this. How does that all happen of getting Gronk into it? And I know there was a trade involved, but what do you remember about that pursuit as well?
At that time we were out of the office. It was right around when we were doing the draft, getting ready to do the draft at home, which was a unique experience, but great. experience having my family around and the kids being around for that. But I remember that Tom had mentioned, I think Gronk wants to play again. Maybe he's like, I'm not saying what to do, but obviously he would love to play with Gronk. And I remember Jason and Coach Belichick talking through it, and Gronk wanting to come out of retirement and play here. And we kind of kept it. We were able to keep it quiet for a little bit because we still needed him to get a physical, and we couldn't fly him in to get the physical. We had to set him up with somewhere in Boston, and we were like, okay, well, once he goes for physical, this is going to break pretty quickly. And so just trying to navigate that situation was a little challenging as well. But it was great having Gronk here, and really exciting to have him on board. It's such a great guy, such a great player.
We all know the year Tampa had that year, first team ever to not just win the Super Bowl, but win it in their home stadium. What do you remember just about that night that the Super Bowl is won? It's all a success. Tom's first year, Gronk's first year, made it to the mountaintop. What do you remember about just that night in general, being at Raymond J Stadium that night?
Well, we had the same staff here especially the scouting staff for a long time. Rob McCartney is going on. He started the year after me, and Spencer Dill. I think there's 15th season those guys are going to. And Mike Beals had been here a while, and Shane Scannell, and Byron Kiefer, and all of us have kind of been together for a long time. So to win it here and we won it, it was just nice to kind of be around each other and been like, okay, all those late nights, all those weekends, those mornings, we had a lot of losing seasons that we kind of endured together. It was worth it. It paid off. Look, we made it here. We won. So that's what really was, I think, the most special thing, just kind of sharing it with all the people that you went through this process with and struggled with at times, but really kind of, believed in each other, believed in what we're doing, believed in Jason and his plan, and seeing it kind of come together. And it was special just to be around each other and enjoy that with each other.
Now, that was all great. You win the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl parade happens. It's probably the greatest parade ever. But Bruce Arians gets on the microphone, and I would imagine this makes your job harder. But he's like, Levante David, you're going nowhere. Shaq Barrett, you're going nowhere. Chris Godwin, you're going nowhere. You have to retain all these players. They're all about to become free agents, and he's putting it on the record that all of you will be back no matter what. Retaining all 22 starters and bringing back everyone when the salary cap is going down because of COVID, how difficult was that for you?
I think, and I remember that moment very, very clear. If you look in the background, because it's the end of the parade and Bruce is on stage saying that when Levante comes up, and then Sue and Chris, and you can see, I think me and Jackie are probably like crying a little bit in the background, like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this work? I remember us making eye contact across the room and being like, we got our work cut out for us. But as a salary cap and contract person, that's like the dream. That's how do we take a situation where we were just successful and make it all work and have that, put together that puzzle to try and do it again. And so it was fun. It was one of the probably most fun I've had. Me, Jackie, and Jason really sat down, put together a plan, pitched it to ownership, and to their credit, our owners, they signed off on it, because a lot of people always talk like the salary cap isn't real. You could push things. Well, you can do that, but step one is you always need the financial resources to do that. And without that, you don't get to be creative. You don't get to re-sign all the players. So it's nice that me, Jackie, Jason, everyone always credits us to re-signing all 22. But that doesn't happen without the commitment from our owners being like, we're going to give you the resources to go and do this, and we want to keep this team together, and we want to win. And so that's really step one of the whole process is having the resources. And then it was probably the most fun I've had in going into a free agency, because that's the dream for the salary cap person, to try and make that all work.
To recap that offseason, franchise tagged Chris Godwin, re-signed Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, and Ndamukong Suh, Ryan Suckup, the kicker, Antonio Brown, and then extended Tom Brady and Donovan Smith to bring down their cap numbers as well. It's quite the offseason. A lot of people said it would be probably impossible. and you guys figured it out with the help of yourself, Jason, and of course, Jackie and ownership giving the green light. I wanted to ask you this general question about Tampa Bay, because when Tom was there, you guys were getting all the primetime games. Everything was great. Everyone was talking about you. But I feel like over the course of the history in Tampa Bay, and you've been there for 16 years, and there's been some incredible players there. Levante David was the first ever guest on this show because he's just so underrated. Rondé Barber, who went into the Hall of Fame after waiting 3 years, made no sense. Mike Evans has been one of the most underappreciated receivers. Just Tampa Bay in general, winning divisions year after year. Why do you think they don't get recognized enough nationally for the stability, consistency, the organization being as good as it is? Like, why do you think that happens?
It's a good question. We're okay with it. We like being the under the radar team. I'm not sure, probably because Tampa's not a big city like a New York or Chicago. We got it's interesting, guys like Levante and Rondé, one of my favorite people that I've met at the Buccaneers organization through the years, and a good friend. And they are those gritty guys that they weren't looking for the attention. They were looking to be great. And the attention that all came afterwards. But the fact that Levante David hasn't been to a number of Pro Bowls is a shame. Like, Levante is a Hall of Famer in my book, and Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame person. Mike Evans, same thing. Like, Mike has sort of gotten more recognition these past year or two, but Mike has been a great player for such a long time and such a big part of what we've done. And him and Levante, really, those are the guys that right now that we try and find guys with that character and that love of football. And but to answer your original question, I'm not sure why we haven't gotten a lot of national attention, but we're okay with it. We like being the under radar team, and we past few years it's worked well for us, so we're okay with it.
Hey guys, Ari here to tell you that we are so excited to be working with our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they have created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. All you got to do while you're driving, they gather and analyze data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you will get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving.
Yeah, and you can even test it out before you switch, which really helps you get the perfect way of knowing what you'll be paying based on your driving, which honestly, we all need a little bit of some feedback on. I need it out here in LA. You need it out there in New York. We both have different type of driving, I imagine, with the road situations, but it still matters how we drive. It still matters what we're doing out there on the road. So it's important to know how you're driving, get that right rate. And you know what? We've been talking about all this technology. The Root app makes it easy for you to edit your coverage, update your policy, and file a claim in just minutes.
So get started today by visiting root.com, ROOT.com, and learn how you can save for good driving.
All right, Ari, it's not a great day to be a Cincinnati Bengals fan. We now know that Joe Burrow is going to be out for the next 3 months with his turf toe injury, which is now requiring surgery. What would you say is the best route for the Bengals to be as far as what they're going to do with the quarterback situation? There was a report that they might look at the free agent market, but they have Jake Browning there, who did obviously win the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So what would you say is basically their best route to be able to stay in playoff contention?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to ride the backup they've had all along, the guy they've had there for the last couple of years. It is going to be Jake Browning, who a couple of years ago had to fill in for Joe Burrow and looked competent. I mean, he did complete 70% of his passes that year. He was able to get the ball to his playmakers, and that's what they're going to be hoping for here moving forward. And it's going to be starting here this Sunday versus the Minnesota Vikings, who also will have a backup quarterback in Carson Wentz starting for them. Who thought Carson Wentz and Jake Browning will be the quarterback matchup here in week 3? But they will be looking to add another quarterback to this roster because it is Browning and Brett Rippon right now. They're going to look around to see who's out there in the veteran market in free agency. They had Desmond Ridder there during training camp and preseason. It could be him. I've seen some of the crazy rumors. I've seen the Kirk Cousins. I've seen Derek Carr come out of retirement. Slow down. Let's see how Jake Browning does for now. Let's see how long Joe Burrow is actually out. There's a lot of questions here, but they have all their faith and all the confidence in Jake Browning taking over right now and getting the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki and Noah Fant and Chase Brown. A lot of playmakers on this team, and if they could just win or 6 games, and maybe Joe comes back at the end of the year, that might be the best case scenario for them because they are 2-0 right now. They do have 2 wins in their back pocket. So Browning is the guy. He's going to play quarterback, and we'll see how it goes starting on Sunday.
Well, it sounds like the Bengals are going to be riding with Jake Browning, and you guys should be riding with Root.com. Go over there. Make sure you get the best insurance. Make sure you know what your policy is going to be charged. Get over there. Get the app. Root.com.
When Spytek was on the show, he said our goal is to make, in the scouting department, is to make your life really hard because we draft so well. Tampa Bay has been the best drafting team in my mind over the last several years. No team has had more homegrown players on the initial 53 the last couple of years than Tampa Bay. For you, and we saw the last couple of weeks, extending Luke Gedeke, extending Zion McCollum, how hard has the scouting department made it for you with the drafts they've had of retaining all these guys? Because I know fans don't want to hear it, but the cap is very real and you got to fit it all in. Just these last several years of drafting so well and having so many great players, just is there a point where it's like, gosh, this is a little bit too hard?
That's the part I love about the job, the challenge, and that you're right. The scouting department and Jason, leading it all, obviously has done such a remarkable job. And I think some of the reason Jason has continued to get better as a GM too is he's not afraid to look at himself and go, how do I get better? And year after year, he asks the question how he gets better, how the scouting department gets better, and he's talked a lot about how a few years into the job, he didn't like the direction we were headed and some of the players that we were taking and some of the, riskier guys. And he goes, you know what, we're going to really focus on character more. And he means it. And we have. And so it's been fun watching the scouting department just continue to get better year after year, and they do such a great job. And it's made my life harder, but that's the fun part about the job. And you want to draft well, develop, and then re-sign your own guys, and that's what we've done. And so, not going to complain about having too many good players to sign because they just done such a great job. And really, everybody was asked, we went all in a few years ago after Brady, and we kept pushing the cap charges. The only way to really get out of cap trouble is to draft well. That's it. That's the number one way to get out of draft. And that's really why we were able to kind of get out of that situation after going all in a few years in a row. And, to a point now where we have a pretty healthy cap, and it's a tribute to that department and scouting. When Spytek was here, Mike Beal, Rob McCartney, Tony Hardy, and that crew has done such a great job. So I'm happy they made my job harder and hope they continue to do that.
Last offseason was the extensions for Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield. Mike Evans came back. So a lot of players getting rewarded who are all drafted by this Buccaneers organization. You mentioned how you guys went from Tom and, drafted well, and the cap is in a good place right now. From an organizational standpoint, just how cool has it been to go from Brady to now having Baker Mayfield, who's on his own big deal, a player many people gave up on, and find success without any major drop off?
It's been really, really incredible. Brady, obviously, just so special, such as an unbelievable talent, in my opinion, the greatest player to ever play this game. And then to follow up with Baker, who I'm not sure that there is a person that is better suited for the city of Tampa Bay than Baker Mayfield. Baker is just everything. He resembles everything about Tampa, and he's the players love him, the staff loves him. He's going to give you everything he has all the time. This past weekend, how many big runs did he come up with on third down? And at the end of the game, when you need him to have a drive and make a play, make an unbelievable throw to Mecca to score the touchdown that put us ahead. He's just been so clutch, and it's just such a great fit for this organization. And we got lucky that he was available when he was, to bring him in, because he's been tremendous, and it's been fun watching him and getting to know him. And we're really, really excited.
1-year prove it deal that became a 3-year commitment, and I would imagine there's another contract here on the way, possibly next year. I want to ask you a couple of just general front office salary cap stuff that is really in your world. First of all, I've asked this to other people. I asked AJ Stevens. I've asked other cap guys who have been on the show. Why and I don't know what the answer is, but why is it so difficult and rare for cap guys to become general managers in football? Because the common thing in the league for many, many years has been we're going to hire the scout who has been doing it for a number of years, who's moved up the ladder, and that's it. Why don't we see more guys who are on the negotiation side, the cap side, the CBA side, become
Mhm.
GMs in the NFL?
It's a really good question. Not sure I know the answer. I would say really that when you look at, okay, what's the main job? The main job is to find, well, is to find talent in the draft and to find a quarterback. And so I think when time comes for owners to really hire a GM, they lean a little bit more towards hiring the person that is the evaluator, because at the end of the day, you need to evaluate to bring um, to do well in the draft and bring in great players. Not to say that the other model, and you look like a guy like Howie Roseman, who's been, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame GM, and he came up through the cap side of things. So I'm not, why more people haven't gotten opportunities is probably a little bit surprising, but I think it probably has to do with prioritizing, bring someone in who has a background in picking players and scouting, and just prioritize that a little bit higher than someone with the cap. And you go look at it and, okay, we'll bring in a strong number two to do the cap. Maybe probably something to do with that. But I think I'm optimistic that some people around the league will start to get opportunities. One here, Jackie Davison. I could see Jackie she would be a great GM. So hopefully some more cap people get opportunities.
There are some tremendous people who work on that side for many different buildings around the NFL, yourself, Jack, and other teams around the NFL. It's also just the interviews. Like, we don't really see them come up for interviews much. And I think it would be great because it's not just doing that. There's a lot more that is on your plate. And I'm not going to go through all of it here, but one of them that I do know is you don't just negotiate, player contracts. You are negotiating for other people in the organization. I did want to ask you about one specific person. Tom Moore is with the Buccaneers. He has been around the NFL forever, I feel like, and you negotiate his contract. Do you know how many contracts he has signed in his NFL career?
I think the last time he told me, I think this offseason, it was like 47, I believe. Something around that. And every time he signs, it is a great experience for me and him sitting here. And I always go, Coach, you want me to go through anything? You want me to go through the language? And he goes, no, I'm going to sign this. I'm here. I want to be here. No, I'm good. So he is a special man. We are fortunate to have him here. He's just one of those guys you just want to sit with and pick his brain about the different organizations he's been in, different teams he's been in, different roles. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, and we're blessed, honestly, to have him here because he's just been so great for the building, and we've all learned so much from him. But I believe we're on 47.
That's a crazy number. 47 contracts for Tom Moore, who's a legend. One of the few people who has coached Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in his career. So what a career he's had. And I think he's going to coach forever. I really do believe that. Last couple of things here before I wrap this up. You don't have to name names, but you've negotiated hundreds of contracts over the course of your career. Do you have your favorite negotiation story? If you could say a name, great. If not, it's fine. But like, is there one that just sticks out for you that you'll never forget?
There is one was interesting, and it was a very unique situation. And I forgot saying his name, but Ndamukong Suh. We negotiated a few deals with him, but one of them he elected to do himself. And for people I don't know who know Ndamukong, he is a really good. He's a soft-spoken, smart, intelligent guy. And so negotiating with him, he was really well prepared. He knew the comps. He knew what upside people had. He knew cap situations that teams would be in. And it was I had never negotiated directly with a player before. And he was good and prepared. And it was a fun experience going through the whole thing with him. Because at the time I actually had known him because I think it was the second or third contract we did with him. But it was definitely a unique experience that stood out, and he did a really good job.
I love it. And Dominican is a very big business person. For people who don't know, he knows Warren Buffett. He's starting his own media stuff now, talking about business and football. So it does not surprise me one bit that he tried to do it himself there at the end of his career. Last couple of things here before I wrap this up. Everyone knows the Mike Greenberg from ESPN. How often are you confused for that one?
Happens it happens more than you think. More people sending me text by accident or calling, looking at their phone, just calling a Mike Greenberg. I remember it happened last year, like towards the end of the year. I think Adam Schefter sent out a text to a bunch of people like at ESPN and actually copied me instead of the other Mike Greenberg. So I just started chiming in. And they were like, look, we're going to do this on Sunday Countdown, this. And I just started giving my opinion until someone realized, wait, who is this? Like someone who didn't have my number. So I had fun with it. When it happens now, I usually just try and have fun with it, but happens more from somebody texting or calling me by accident.
That is great. I love it. I mean, how long did it take for someone to realize that? I got to ask.
It was just 2 or 3 texts that I sent because I kept making him a little bit over the top. I got worse and worse. I believe it was Rex Ryan who actually is the one who picked up on it. And he goes, wait, who is this? Because he didn't have my phone number. And then Adam goes, oh man, wrong Mike Greenberg's on this text. I was just giving my input on what they should have in the show, what they should say. And obviously it was all pro Buccaneers. Yeah. So I just was chiming in.
I love it. Rex Ryan, former Jets coach, Mike Greenberg, big Jets fan. And you're a part of that group text as well. All right, Mike, last question I want to ask you here. We started off this entire discussion showing you the video of John Spytek and AJ Stevens saying we should get you on the show. I asked the question to every guest who comes on. This is the NFL Spotlight Show. We love spotlighting people in the NFL who deserve more recognition, talking about their career paths, their journeys. How did they get to where they are today? You could pick anybody, coach, player, executive, whoever it is. Who do you think we should target for the show here in the future?
Good question. Well, first, I'm obviously biased. So there is a number of people at this organization that really, really deserve it. And, Rob McCartney, Mike Beal, Shane Scannell, Jackie Davison, Tony Hardy, Byron Kiefer. Like I can go on. We are fortunate to have a lot of great talent here. So biased with any one of the Buccaneers, but going outside the building and getting a little bit creative, I'm going to go with a little bit of an outside the box person, I think, and that's Dave Gardy. Dave from the Commanders, the VP of I think Football Initiative, and a longtime employee at the league office. I was fortunate enough to work for him as an intern at the Management Council many, many years ago when he was doing the legal side of it, and then moved into football operations. And I think if you would ask around the league, there is Dave's network and the people that have worked for him and the people that have relied on him at the league for so many years. I think you'd find it hard to come across somebody that has meant more to many people and have a better reputation than Dave Gardy and the understanding of how the league works. And then 2 years ago or last year, he actually moved to the Commanders to work there in a interesting role for him. And he's done a great job. And he's just a special guy that deserves all the success that comes to him because he's meant so much, I think, to the league as a whole and to so many of us in the league and created his job, and definitely a guy that would be worth having on.
You know exactly what we're trying to find here on the show. Dave Gardy is as behind the scenes as it gets, but anybody who's within NFL circles has heard that name before. And he's exactly the type of person we would love to spotlight here on the show. And we're going to get to work on that here very soon. But Mike, I want to thank you for coming on here on the show, talking about your career path, the journey, the successes, everything that you've had going on in your career. It's a really, really cool story. Hearing about all of it and everything you've done in Tampa Bay and everything you're going to continue to do. Best of luck here this 2025 NFL season. We're all following very closely, and all the best.
Appreciate it. Huge fan of yours and everything you do. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed it.
Fall always feels like a reset. It's back to school, busier routines and shorter days, and finding time to cook could be difficult. That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals makes it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets.
Yeah, and Factor has been awesome. I got my box this past week and quite frankly, it's nothing like anything I've ever had before from a delivery service. Being able to just heat up my meals in 2 minutes and honestly get something that's better than a lot of times what I can prep just there on my own kitchen with way too much time spent. It's fantastic because you get more variety, more meals, choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. You can support your wellness goals, even enjoy more with GLP-1 friendly meals, new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats, savor some global flavors. For the first time, you can try Asian inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. And honestly, it's just fantastic. I've really been a big fan of it. And I think you guys should definitely go out there and go and order with the fantastic code that Ari is about to give you.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/Ari50off. And again, use the code Ari50off, ARI50OFF, and you're going to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That is code Ari50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a full year. Get delicious, ready to eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with the code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchases. Special thanks to Tampa Bay Buccaneers assistant GM Mike Greenberg for being our special spotlight guest of the week. What a great conversation with him, hearing how he started to where he is today. And I've said it many times before here on the show. I mentioned it in the interview, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization is one of the great organizations in football, with the way they are run from top to bottom, really from ownership down to the executives, down to the coaches, down to the players. They really deserve more attention and recognition, which is what this entire show is about. Mike Greenberg is a very, very big part of that. He's a very, very important part of that front office, and everything he has done there with all the contracts that they have and everything else, which, we didn't talk about in the interview, but the amount of things that are on the docket for a guy like Mike Greenberg. It's not just contracts and salary cap. I mean, there's budgets, there's stuff within the organization where you have to make sure everything is in place. It really is a never-ending thing that most fans just never see. Like, you really have to be within football circles to understand just how much goes on within the front office throughout all the departments of a football organization. And Mike is heavily involved in Tampa Bay, helps Jason Licht a lot. And he was a perfect guest to have here on the show and spotlight his entire career so far. And it would not surprise me if he does become a GM of the year in the near future in the NFL. It just makes too much sense that Buccaneers front office has so many great people, and he is one of them, like we have mentioned. But that would do it here for our Tuesday, September 16 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. One little note, we won't be on here tomorrow. We are adjusting our schedule over here moving forward during the regular season. So tomorrow we're going to be off. We will be back here on Thursday talking more about everything happening around the NFL, all the news, all the notes, all the stuff that we should be spotlighting around the NFL that maybe the average fans are not realizing is happening right now across the league. So we will see you then on Thursday. And as always, if you have anybody you think we should get here on the show as a special guest for our Tuesday episodes, player, coach, executive, whoever it is, leave it in the comments. Or, of course, you could private message me on X. That is at My Sports Update. I will take a look at it. If it makes sense, we'll go out there and try to get that person here on the show. We will see everyone here on Thursday.